Okay, in this video tutorial, what we're going to be doing is building a very simple car racing game. Now, there's not going to be any enemy races that we're racing against. We're just going to be doing like a time trial and racing against the clock. Now, in the file that you can see that I've already got open, I have a couple of things made. I have my race car. Okay, very basic in design. I've just drawn that in the editor inside of Scratch. And then I also have my background, okay? And my background has a couple of different things. So if I hide my car, you can see there that I've got a green outline, I've got my track there in grey, okay, I've got a finish line in black, and then I've got a little line that's going to stop anyone from cheating there in red. Okay, and they're all going to become quite useful later. Now my car takes up a lot of the screen, so what we're going to do is we're going to start by setting quite a few different things so that our game's going to run nice and easy. So to begin with, what we're going to do is jump into the events section here, and we're going to grab a when green flag clicked box, and then from there we're going to add a couple of things to it. So from our motion menu, the first things we're going to do is actually get our car pointing in the right direction, going to its start line, and then also setting the size. Okay, so to start with, what we're going to do is actually we might go into looks first, and you're going to find this block here that says set size to. Okay, so our car is currently set to 100%, which is massive, and we want to change that down. So I know exactly how big I want this car to be, so what I'm going to do is come over here and change it to 6%. Now you'll notice that it hasn't changed here on the canvas at all, and that's because we haven't clicked the green flag button, and when we do, it'll get very small and it'll fit on the track perfectly. But then we're also going to tell it that we need it to go to a particular place, all right? Because we want the person, when they start the race, to always be forced to go back to the same place every time. So we're going to grab our go to X and Y, so these are our coordinates, and we're going to type in -150 for the X and 100 for the Y. Okay, and that's going to get our car to appear somewhere over here, which is where the start line was. Okay, so we're going to get him to appear just over there somewhere. Alright, so that's just moving him there every time we start the game. And then the last thing we want it to do is we want it to point in the direction that we want it to start moving. Okay, so he starts traveling forward. And to do that, we're going to grab this one here and say point in direction 90. And then from there, basically, it's nice and easy. When we click the green flag, now this change we're not going to really be able to undo, but if I click that green flag, you'll see that our car gets really small and it moves to our start line, which is sort of in line with the corner there. Okay, so I'm just going to press stop. And that's our program finished for now. We have a little car on screen and it's ready to move. So to get it moving, we need to create a loop. Now you should remember back from some of the previous videos that our loops are set up so that we can get code to repeat over and over again. And in this case, we're going to get it to do a forever loop so that it will keep doing the same thing until we stop. And to do that, what we want it to actually have in it, back in our motion menu, is we're going to tell it that we want it to point towards our mouse pointer, because remember it's a mouse-driven game this time, so it's just going to point wherever our mouse is, and then it's going to slowly move towards it. Okay, so if I change this to 2 steps instead of 10, it's going to slow our car right down. Now, if you make that number too big, you'll find that your car moves too quickly, and it actually gets a little bit tough to stay within the course. So we're going to leave that one like this for now, and then when we press play, you'll notice that what actually happens is our car starts moving, and you can see that when I move the mouse around, it follows it. Now the problem is at this stage I can sort of just cheat and cut the corner and get to the finish, but also nothing happens when we get there. So that's where we're going to start to build some of the other things. Now our game's a little bit boring at the moment because there's no way to really tell if we're winning. So what I want to do is I actually want to come back, and now we're going to set up a variable for our timer. Now variables, if you've seen some of the previous videos, are places that we can put information and store things so that we can see them and they can change later. So from our variables menu, we're going to quickly come into here and click make a variable, and we're going to set it to time. Now if you're not sure what the difference between for all sprites are and for this sprite only, go back and have a watch of the creating a variable video, which is the one where I explain what the difference between a global and a local variable is. But for this point in time, we're going to create a global variable called time. Okay, now the cool thing about Scratch is once we create that variable, you'll see that our time box appears up in the top corner of our window. So this gives our players something that they can see. Now, as part of what our game is going to do, we need that timer to tick up. So this is where we're going to create some very simple code that's going to get that to work. So the first thing we're going to do is grab another one of these when green flagged clicked buttons. Because we have the forever loop there, we can't add it to the bottom of that code, so we need another one. So it's going to execute 2 pieces of code whenever we click go. And what we're going to get it to do first from our variables menu is we're going to get our timer to be set back to 0. Okay, because it'd be very unfair if you got to race first and the timer started on 0, and then your friend said, here, come and see if you can beat my time, and when they press play, the timer was already on, say, 20 seconds because that's how long you took. So we're going to get that set back to 0. All right, and that makes it fair for everyone. So we're setting our variable of time back to 0 whenever we click the green flag. Okay, and then we're going to create another forever loop here that acts as our timer. So when we come into our variables, we have this option here that says change time by 1. So if we do that, that's fantastic. All right, now if we press the play button here, you'll notice very quickly that there's a bit of an error. So when we press play, look at what happens to time. All right, now that's not in seconds. Now you could leave your timer ticking up that quickly and you can see who can get there in the shortest number of milliseconds or whatever, but we use time in seconds as people. So this is where we're going to set another event where we're going to get it to wait just for the single second. So if we drag this one here and put it in the forever loop, this time when we press play, you'll notice that it now counts up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and it counts in seconds, which is awesome. Okay, so our timer is basically built and ready to go. So if for any of your projects you are ever going to build a timer, you can create that really, really simple in this code here once you've created your variable. Now we need our game to actually do some stuff. All right, we want it to tell our player that if they go off the course onto the green that they wrecked and crashed their car. If they touch the red, we want it to tell them that they're cheating and we want it to stop as well. And then obviously if it hits the black, we want it to tell them that they finished and they did really well. Okay, so that's our next little pieces of code. So this section here is going to be a little bit different. We're going to grab another one of our green flags because again, with a forever loop, we can't add any code to the bottom. And in this section, we're actually going to drop a forever loop that controls the entire game in it. The way that we're going to build this is have it so that our program, when we touch those different colors, sends a message to our car that tells it to stop what it's doing, and then it'll say something on screen for us. Now to do that, we need some branches. And when we talk about branches, we're talking about if statements. Okay, now if you've watched any of my previous videos, you would have seen some of these two blocks. You would have seen if something then, and it'll tell us some code, or if something then, and then we have an else. Now ideally in programming, we would have if something, then else if something, and we would keep going down in a single branch like that. Now because of the way that the Scratch buttons are set up, we're going to actually just use these if buttons to keep it nice and simple. So I'm going to get rid of that one there. So the first thing we want it to do is we want it to see what happens when it touches, let's do the red first, so the cheating one, so that if anyone cheats, it'll fix that for us. So we're going to come into our sensing option, which is going to get our car to actually start looking for something. And we're going to drag in this if touching color, and we're going to drop that one in there. Now I know that green's there, but it's potentially not the same green, so we're going to set that ourselves. As I said, we're going to use red first though, so click on the green and you'll notice that you get this little box where you can set the color. Now if you know what the exact color settings are, that's fantastic. You can set them by dragging these little sliders. So if we drag this one all the way down, you can see it changes to purple. But that's going to be really difficult to get the exact red. So what we're going to do instead is click this little button here, which acts as our little eyedropper, and then you can see that we have a little point. So I can come over here and select red, and it gives me the exact red color that we need. Now that we have that, we can do two things. First thing is we're going to broadcast a message. Okay, now this is how we can call what we call a function. Where are you hidden? There we go, broadcast. And I'm going to drag that one in. Now I had previously built this, which means I have 3 messages set up. Because it's the red one that says no cheating, we're going to broadcast the message called cheater. Now you may need to come into here and click on new message and type in cheater, but it's very important that whatever you type in, you are case sensitive. So if you put it in capitals and lowercase, when we build it a little bit later on, you might have to select the same thing and type it in. Now from there, we're going to come into our control menu. No, we're not, sorry. We're going to come into our looks menu, and you can see here that we have a say button up at the top. So this gets a little speech bubble pops up off our car and it says something for us, and we're going to drag that one in there, grab our message and say no cheating, we'll put lowercase, no cheating, start again. Okay, so if our car drives over the red, it's going to say no cheating. So if I grab that and I drive over red, you can see it says no cheating, but sort of nothing happens. So the game doesn't stop yet. And that's because our message hasn't done anything. So back in our control settings, what we're going to do is we're going to come over here and we are going, no, sorry, in the events one, we're going to say when I receive, and you can see that there's an option here that says cheater, we can add some code in. So we're going to tell it to wait half a second before it does anything. So this allows our car to still move just a touch. Okay, so we're going to wait just half a second. And then from there, we're going to grab this button here that says stop all. So to quickly demonstrate what that looks like, we press play, we drive over, we press there, we get to our cheating one, our message pops up and then it all goes away. All right, so that's what we want to happen. All right, because that stops someone being able to drive to the finish line through the cheating thing. Okay, next up, we're going to add some extra blocks in here. So in our if statement, what we're going to do, we actually need two more, one for the green and one for the black. So while we're in here, we might grab both of those and stick them in, so you get two extra blank spaces. Okay, now if you can remember back, we need it to say when we're touching a particular color. So that comes from our sensing menu, and again, we need two of those. So we might drop one of these in here and grab one of these and drop it in there as well. Now they both say green, and remember that might not be the exact green, so we need to click on here, grab our little eyedropper tool, move over to our canvas, just click somewhere in the green and that'll set the color. Oh, it wasn't, you can see that changed just a touch. And the last one we need is the black, so I'm going to click on that one straight away while I'm doing all of these same steps. Come over here, find some of that black, there we go, click on that, and now I get my black setting. Last but not least, I need to do these other two things again. So I'm going to go into my events one. I'm going to grab my broadcast, drop that in, except this time I don't want cheater. When we hit green, that means you crashed the car. So I'm going to hit wrecked. And then I'm going to grab this one here, drop it in as well. And this one for black obviously is finished. So I'm going to grab that message and click finished. Now remember, you may need to click on that new message button so that you can have those messages or the titles of those messages appear. The last thing that we need to do is build out our two little sections that play whatever it is that we're going to do for green and play whatever it is that we're going to do for black. Oh no, we don't need to do that yet. First of all, we've got to put these purple blocks in. So coming to looks, we're going to grab say hello for 2 seconds, except when it's green, we're going to say your car is wrecked. Start again. Okay, and we're going to grab one more of these and drop that in there as well. And we just might write, you finished, well done. Okay, so that gives us a little congratulations message. And we just got to very quickly put these ones in again. Now I'm going to be super quick and cheaty here because the code that we want for our wrecked message and our finished message is actually the same as our cheater one. So if I come up to the top of my when I receive block and I right click on it, you can see there that it says duplicate. So if I click on that one, you see I get another one. I can drop that there. And all I need to do is open this little drop down box up, find my other message, so I can click finished and I get one more. If I duplicate this one and put it down here and change that message to wrecked, I now have a wrecked one, a finished one, and a cheater one. So I have all three of my conditions that I've built, all three of my branches. Now that means that when I press the play button, when I drive, it'll go to wrecked, and you can see that it said that for me. When I drive over here, whoops, I got on the green there. When I get on the red, it says no cheating, and when I get all the way to the end, which is going to take a little while, it will tell me that I've finished. Now I'm not going to try and cut any of the corners and set a good time here, because if I stuff it up, the video is just going to go for that little bit longer. So we get all the way to the end, 20 seconds later, finished, you done, well done, and then it stops the program for us. Now that's it for our car racing game that's driven by our mouse. Okay, now in the next video for this series, we're going to build basically the same thing again, except this time it's going to be a little bit more complex where we start to use the keyboard with the arrow keys and things like that. So I look forward to seeing you over there. Well done on finishing your car racing game.